Welcome to The Deep Dive. We're the podcast where we really get into a stack of sources to pull out those insights that help you understand something new. Today, we're taking a journey, really. A journey through time, through huge changes, all seen through one character's eyes. Our sources for this deep dive are excerpts from John Wray's novel, The Right Hand of Sleep. And our mission, well, it's to explore how massive historical events, think world wars, political chaos, how they don't just play out on the world stage, but echo right down into individual lives, how they shape who we are, how we see home, the choices we have to make. These excerpts, they give us such a vivid, detailed look at these, very human themes.
Absolutely. And the story really centers on Oskar Voxlauer. He's an Austrian man, and his life stretches from World War I right into the rise of Nazism. So this isn't just history class. It's a really personal view of a world just constantly shifting, often in terrifying ways. As we follow Oskar, we're going to be looking for those key insights, how people adapt or don't adapt, how disillusionment sets in, and that constant search for meaning when everything seems like chaos.
Yeah. Okay, let's dive in then. We start with Oskar's youth. He's in this town, Niessen. Seems quiet, but then bang, he's conscripted into World War I. And there's this scene, his departure's really powerful. Just a boy walking to the station with his parents. His father, Carl, tells him something specific. He says, keep a journal, Oskar. All the inane details, l'état absurdité, the reason, he says, it saved your old grandfather from expiring of boredom and from wasting slowly away in this pretty backwater, decaying into dust. It's such a small moment, but it speaks volumes, doesn't it? This fear of insignificance, maybe hoping that just writing things down could somehow, hold off the absurdity of it all.
It really does. And what hits you immediately is the contrast between that sort of thoughtful, almost gentle request from his father and the reality Oskar finds in the trenches almost straight away. He talks about this bleary-eyed lieutenant, desertions happening all the time, this feeling that everything's unraveling, but without any big dramatic change, just falling apart slowly. And then there's that incredibly visceral detail, Walkman's death, with a cord of thickened mucus jutting like a tusk from his mouth into the snow. It's grotesque, and it's maybe Oskar's first real lesson that war isn't about glory. It's arbitrary. It's absurd. He feels like nothing I did could have made any difference. But then there's this strange giddiness, too. Like he has this privileged and secret knowledge from seeing something so raw.
That contrast is just so stark, isn't it? You've got his uncle Gustl back home probably saying things like, do your duty by those greasy olive pickers, this kind of rah-rah nationalism.
That idealized picture.
And then there's Oskar facing this brutal, pointless reality where just finding mittens could get you killed. How does that idealism hold up?
Well, it doesn't, really. The source makes it pretty clear that this brutality is what pushes him to desert. He just wants out of Austria before the war even ends. So he heads east. And on that journey, he meets Jan Tabax, a dentist from Prague described as something of a socialist. Jan becomes a real influence, a mentor almost. And under his influence, Oskar starts to see his old life, his past life as an haute bourgeois evil, his upper middle class background. He sees it as corrupt. He even blames his father's music, those filigreed, salon-ready compositions, calls them the most grotesque flowering of that world, and somehow connects them to his father's death. It's a radical shift.
Wow. So personal grief gets tangled up with this huge ideological rejection, which sets the scene for when they get to what's called Bolshevik territory. And it's just confusing. They meet a Slovak ferryman. He talks about a new system of barter. Oskar thinks, okay, maybe the Bolsheviks got rid of money.
Makes sense.
But then the ferryman says the territory actually belongs to the Holy German Empire. It just throws you, doesn't it? This total chaos of borders, allegiances, who's in charge, what rules apply. Imagine living through that level of uncertainty.
Exactly. How do you even know who you are when the ground keeps shifting like that? And soon after, Oskar meets Anna. She's Ukrainian, recently widowed, in a place called Cherkasy. Their first meeting is super brief, practical. Oskar says, I'm starving. Anna says, I need a worker. In French, interestingly, her first impression of him, just an awkward gymnasium student. And she's young herself. The text notes her schooling had ended on her 16th birthday, and now she was well past her 29th. Still young, but experienced. Oskar sees her as beautiful, like an angel on a veteran's monument, smooth polished and sexless, proud and severe. There's this strength, this pragmatism about her that seems to draw him in.
So they start this life together on a collective farm. And Anna teaches him Ukrainian, apparently stubbornly, almost ruthlessly. Tells you something about her character.
Definitely determined.
And together they create this kind of private language, the Tsar's Dutch. It's a mix of 3 languages. And it's their only privacy because they're constantly being watched, judged, humiliated for their supposed kulak sense of privilege, that old wealthy peasant label the Bolsheviks used. So this language, it's more than just communication, isn't it? It's like a little bubble of defiance, a way to keep something for themselves.
It really is a fortress of intimacy. And what's fascinating, or maybe strange, is that Oskar, even living through the harshness of the collective, he still kind of clings to Leninism. Anna, though, she seems more realistic. She apparently found entertainment in the letters from Oskar's mother, who was always ranting against Bolshevikism.
Quite the contrast.
Yeah. But their bond, it seems forged in all this difficulty. They adapt together. And Oskar, he keeps writing letters home to his mother, still, filled with all this Leninist rhetoric. It's like he's trying to hold these two completely different worlds together somehow, even just on paper.
And their relationship itself is unconventional. The source says they became man and wife just because Anna said so. And when they finally become intimate, there was apparently a great amount of laughter. It sounds warm, despite everything. Human.
Yeah, there's a real sense of finding connection in unexpected ways.
There's also this small detail. Oskar finds an old canteen. It belonged to Anna's husband, Andrei, who died. And this canteen, it gives him comfort on his travels. A connection, maybe, to this new life, this found family.
These small objects can carry so much weight, can't they? So fast forward nearly 20 years, Oskar goes back to Niessen. And the feeling he has is just displacement. He feels like he's not quite back. He sees the town, and it looks like nothing so much as an antique jeweler's miniature sliding away with a clicking of wheels and cogs into the pines. Like it's literally disappearing from his life, even as he stands there.
That's a powerful image. The past slipping away. And that feeling, that alienation, it hits hard when he sees his mother again. She's shocked by his appearance. Your worn face had shocked her. And she just can't seem to square the man standing there with the son who left all those years ago. There's this involuntary shaking of her head, a constant slow avowal of disbelief.
It's brutal. The change isn't just in him, it's reflected in her eyes. And it mirrors the changes in the town itself. Because Niessen is decaying. And the politics. Well, the politics are getting ugly. His uncle Gustl, the one with the wartime slogans, now he's making these vile anti-Semitic remarks.
Right.
About the flower Jew, how the Jew invaded this country.
Yeah.
And we need to be really clear here. These are Gustl's hateful views as portrayed in the source material, absolutely not ours. The author includes them to show what's happening at the time.
Right. It shows the poison spreading.
Exactly. Gustl also rants about Bolshevism. So those big world conflicts, they're playing out right there in this small town's conversation, poisoning everything.
And you see the decay physically, too. The guest house rent is much the worse for wear, boarded up windows, cement bags lying around, and the place his mother preferred, the Nissenerhof, it's just shut down and abandoned.
Yeah. The past is literally being boarded up. Which brings us to the really chilling political shift in Austria itself. Oskar's mother tells him, they marched into Vienna on Thursday, Oskar, and they've taken our republic. This connects directly to the Dollfuss assassination in 1934. A violent coup attempt, a putsch, driven by Nazi sympathizers in Austria. And guess who's involved? Elsa's cousin, Kurt Bauer. He's tied in with figures like Glass and even Himmler. He's described as an Obersturmführer, that's an SS rank. But interestingly, the source says the whole putsch was a complete surprise to the rank-and-file brown shirts, the SA. They apparently didn't back it initially. Shows the chaos even within the movement.
So this isn't some distant political event. It's right there, involving people Oskar knows. And you see the signs locally. These red and gray banners with the swastika described as a huge pornographic cross suddenly appear. There's news. The illegals are marching in Villach tomorrow with full state's honors. The illegal Nazis are now being celebrated.
Yeah, the tide has turned.
And you feel the fear. That line, a plump citizen is their easiest mark. It's chilling. Vulnerability is everywhere.
And that vulnerability turns into actual violence. Paulie Ryslavy's guest house is attacked.
Yeah.
Viciously. The awning is gutted, glass crushed, the bar blistered and discolored. Even the stools are hacked up. And the source lists names of the attackers. Rindt, Mayer, Kroyacher, Fuchs, and then, unsettlingly, Wellenek, the schoolteacher.
The schoolteacher, wow.
Yeah. It shows how ordinary people, neighbors, are becoming part of this destruction, the normalization of it all.
So Oskar's back in this place, familiar but terrifyingly different. How does he react? There's that moment at his mother's funeral. He confronts the SS officer, Herr Wiedhopp. And Oskar thinks, internally, he wants me to do this, and I will. I will do what he wants.
Chilling. That sense of inevitability, like his own will is just fading under the pressure.
Yeah, and the priest is there with the Latin pulvis es et impulverum revertaris, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. It just adds to this feeling of decay, of everything crumbling.
To really grasp the choices Oskar faces next, we have to understand his relationship with Else. It's complicated. She has this deep sadness which seemed to hover over her like a canopy. It's rooted in her past. We find out Else and her cousin Kurt, the SS guy, are children of this man Bauer. He was basically run out of town as a drunk after his wife drowned. And they apparently hated Papa Ryslavy for throwing table scraps to her ass-scratcher of a father. There's this intense resentment there.
So it's not just personal dislike, it's class hatred, a feeling of being wronged by the established families.
It's exactly. A feeling that Ryslavy's family took my father's self-respect and health. This deep grievance, it fuels her, maybe makes her more open to Kurt's radical politics that promise to overturn everything.
And that tension definitely plays out between Oskar and Else, especially concerning Kurt, the illegal, the black shirt. Kurt visits the cottage where Oskar is staying. He's described as having this boyish face, smooth-featured and impossible to decipher. And his movements are jerky. It's unsettling.
Like a mask of normalcy over something dangerous. Then Oskar finds these old sketches in the cottage. He recognizes Else and a younger version of her, Resi. And he realizes the cottage, this dank hole, is where Else's father spent his last year. Else herself says it plainly. The family you work for took my father's self-respect and health. That history hangs heavy.
And then suddenly, violence erupts again. Kurt has a fatal motorcycle accident. He dies. Oskar's reaction. He immediately goes to alert the authorities, specifically the little SS officer from the funeral, Herr Vadhaupt.
It's a pragmatic move, maybe even self-preservation. But it shows how tangled up he is now with this new power structure. No escaping it. Which leads to this absolutely chilling scene in the chapel between Oskar and the dying Kurt. Kurt declares, "I represent the present and I represent the future. The authority I act upon will endure for 1,000 years. And then it just lays into Oskar. Deserter, son of the famous shotgun suicide, toady to Bolshevists, yid-loving bastard.
Wow. It's the whole ideology weaponized right at the moment of death, personal and political hatred combined.
It perfectly captures the stakes. The new order isn't just political, it aims to completely erase identities like Oskar's.
Amidst all this, some people decide they just can't stay. Peternig and his colony, the source mentions naked nudists, socialists, a mix of people, they leave. They're heading for Monte Veritas in Italy, but Peternig says, cynically, the direction, of course, is immaterial. Just getting out is the point.
A real sign of despair, isn't it, when where you're going doesn't even matter anymore. But Oskar and Else, they decide to stay. Even with the danger clearly rising, Else says it quietly. We'll behave, both of us. We'll leave them all to wallow in it, won't we?
We'll behave. That's a heavy choice. Is it survival? Or is it giving in?
It's a really tough question. Is conformity a strategy, or is it a surrender?
And right around this point, thinking about that choice to behave, the novel includes this interesting philosophical bit, the puppet passage. It talks about a society of puppets defined by good taste, where morality's seduced, where everything's about emotion, not, deeper things. And critically, a place where there were no poets. What do you think the author's getting at there? About conformity control, especially when art and real thought seem absent?
Well, I think it's a pretty biting critique, isn't it? It suggests a society that gets so caught up in appearances and controlling emotion, maybe even in self-censorship, that it loses something vital, its soul, maybe. If good taste replaces real art, if emotion is just manipulated, then things like creativity, dissent, even just genuine deep feeling, they can just wither away. So losing the poets isn't just about literature. It's symbolic of losing the ability to think critically, to challenge things, to feel deeply. It connects right back to that idea of choosing to just behave. It's a really disturbing thought.
It really is. And that brings us back to listening to this deep dive. Oskar's story, his fragmented memories, his experiences, it weaves together this incredible picture of a world just turned upside down. It shows individuals like him forced to face their past, scramble to adapt to these brutal new realities, and constantly question who they are in the middle of it all. It's a powerful reminder, isn't it, that history isn't just abstract events. It's lived moment by moment through individual struggles, compromises, fears, and choices.
Exactly. It's fiction, yes, but it sheds so much light on the real psychological and social impact of these huge historical shifts, how personal lives get swept up in these grand, often terrifying narratives. It's really a story about what happens to a person caught in that kind of historical storm, constantly trying to figure out what home even means anymore, what self means.
So we leave you with this thought. If home The place you know can change so completely that you barely recognize it, and the people there change just as much. What actually anchors your identity then? Is it memory? Is it your relationships? Or is it maybe just your ability to decide where you stand when faced with change, especially terrifying change?
How can people be gone so utterly, as the source puts it, even when they're still physically there? What's truly left when the world transforms around you? Something to think about.